Welcome to the Art of Healing podcast, the podcast that is dedicated to helping you connect with your mind, body, and spirit. This is Charlize, physician and Reiki master, and thank you so much for joining me. I would like to remind you that although I'm a physician, the information you receive in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. You can find my full disclaimer at my website, www.healingartshealthandwellness.com. If you like what you hear on this podcast, sign up for my weekly newsletter. Check your show notes for more information and for the link to sign up. Thank you. Hello, and thank you so much for joining me for today's episode. We are going to be meeting Amy Anthony. Amy is a certified clinical aromatherapist and aromatic gardener who left her career in market to pursue what is her closest to our heart, which is working with plants. Amy is known as New York City's top aromatherapist and one of New York City's top aromatherapy practitioners. She's an artisanal distiller, a master composer, and an herbalist. Today, Amy is going to be coming on and sharing some of her breadth and depth of knowledge of aromatherapy and essential oils. And with her, we're going to be covering some of the questions concerning safety, how best to use our essential oils. They're so popular. So let's get into it. Hi, Amy. Thank you so much for joining me as a guest. It's so nice to have you on. How are you doing?
I am doing really well, doctor. I've had quite a day today. I've just spent a lot of time with sweet marjoram, and I'm feeling really excited to be here.
Oh, wow. I am feeling a little jealous of that statement. That sounds awesome. We've got a lot of questions to cover, but tell me, what is that to work with marjoram? What's its effects? We've got a lot of topics, but Can you share a little with us?
Of course. I just did a video on the herb today, and it's an underrated herb in aromatherapy, I feel it's definitely the yin to the yang of oregano. They're related, very closely related. And marjoram is really, really good to calm the nervous system, to really support the parasympathetic nervous system. And it has this really soft, gentle, childlike energy. And it really resonates with this time of the year where it's happy September, right? We're in the 1st of September. And it's just encourages calmness, eases impulses, just really calming and soothing, and really nice to incorporate into sleep blends for aromatherapy, I'd say.
Wow. Well, that is great knowledge. Clearly, you've got so much knowledge to share with us. So I'm going to start with, what is your advice on selecting the best essential oils? Is there anything that us consumers can learn from you, an expert, when we're shopping, when we're looking? Any knowledge you have to share with us?
Of course. And this is something so many aromatherapists will talk about. So when we're working with essential oils in aromatherapy, it's not about smell. It's not about synthetics. It's not about perfume, per se. It's about genuine, authentic essential oils, which are highly concentrated substances obtained by distilling aromatic plants. So I really want to stress the concentrated nature and that they're not synthetics. This has to come from a living plant. And when you're looking at your lovely little bottle of oil, these can be really abstract. We're looking at lots of concentrated stuff. You want to see the common name. So today I'm really loving marjoram. I've been really spending a lot of time with her. And you always want to see the Latin name. You always want that Latin name. So Oregana marjorana. You want to see the location, because this tells me it's organic from Egypt. I expect that. I know marjoram thrives in Egypt. If I saw it was growing in the Netherlands, I'd be like, what? That doesn't make sense. And another thing is you want to see extraction method. So ideally on the bottle or the website or the catalog, you'll see it's steam distilled. Most essential oils should be distilled through steam. Sometimes it might be an actual hydro water bath distillation. But that's really important information that if, again, if it's on the label, the supplier should be sharing that information some way. Um,
When we are shopping for our essential oils, if we're not seeing that information, is that sort of a red flag, or
yeah,
is it okay?
I,
Tell me more.
I do want to say that. So if it's not in the bottle, it should be available, right? So some people don't have it on the packaging, but go to the supplier and they should be able to help you. Um,
Okay.
Ideally, if you're really getting down to this and you're getting into formulation and all that stuff, you want to be traceable to the origin. Where's the plant from? Is there a lot number or a batch number? Can you trace it back to the actual distiller or the grower? Um, but yeah, there's a lot of people. I mean, we're talking about a multi-billion-dollar industry that people want. Well, there's charlatans out there. In one way,
Yeah.
people say, Amy, how do you know? The best thing you can do and give yourself as a gift is you buy a couple samples or get samples of the oil, and you should smell the oil. Smell it on from the bottle, but from liberate the oil, as I say. Put it on a cotton pad. If you have perfumer's scent strips, great, but you don't need those. The oil shouldn't be oily if you touch it. Most of them don't have a color. There's exceptions. There should be a dry down and there should be a change where you can smell the oil change because it's made of multiple chemical components. So if you smell a sharpness, a flatness, I often say bad stuff smells metallic and flat. It'll give you a headache. That's a sign that it's not good. Most essential oils, even though they're so concentrated, should not give you a headache. They should smell, they should give you information that interacts with your body.
Okay. So as a consumer, let's say one of us listeners has purchased an essential oil, but maybe we're prone to migraines. Maybe I'm someone who I frequently get headaches. But let's say I've purchased an oil and it does give me a headache. You're saying that that maybe not just be my reaction, that may be the quality of the oil.
I appreciate that question. So both, right? So if you are prone to migraines and you have triggers, if you're trying that essential oil and evaluating it, in aromatherapy or just essential oil applications, more doesn't mean better. Try to use the least amount possible. And then with that least amount possible, evaluate it to see like, does it smell, does it move you? Even if you don't like the oil, like, is it like, oh, I'm starting to feel a little different, it's both. So honor what you know about yourself and then try to do that evaluation with the least amount possible. I hope that answered the
Okay.
question.
That does answer the question. I do need to circle back to one point, but as you're talking, this is so fascinating. I had an oil. It was eucalyptus of some kind. You'll know much better than me. And it's when you said that, because every time I smell it, I just dislike it.
Mhm.
But I actually have more energy after I smell it. That's it. So I keep a bottle of it. And I just can't stand the scent. But I actually just open the bottle, smell it, and then I put it away. But I actually feel more energetic. I know it's a form of eucalyptus.
Mhm.
I'm sure you know all the different strains, but
Yeah, I mean,
um,
Eucalyptus globulus is one of the most common on the market. And honestly, one thing you can do for yourself is get that bottle and liberate the oil. Put one drop on a tissue. I like cotton pads, little rounds, and you want that full effect because when you have your bottle of essential oil, many of them have the orifice reducers on them, the little plastic
mhm,
insert. That's to keep
mhm.
oxygen from coming in, to keep it from spilling.
Okay,
But there's different molecules that evaporate out at different rates. So when you get the whole
okay.
oil out of the bottle, you'll give it that time to breathe. And within like 30 seconds, you might notice it bloom differently. It'd be a totally different experience than being in the bottle. So I mean, try doing that this weekend.
Okay. Okay. I will try that. That's very interesting. So, what is your advice as far as I'm sorry, let's circle back.
Mhm.
On our purchasing, you get 3 tips that we should look for. Let's circle back to one more time. I think you were saying you should be able to get the location, the actual Latin name
Mhm.
of the plant that it comes from. Can you just remind those 3 tips one more
Oh,
time?
yeah, of course. So the Latin name, the common name as it's called, so I was using marjoram or sweet marjoram, and then the Latin name. The plant part distilled is one to know as well. I don't think I mentioned that. So is it the leaves? I don't expect to see marjoram flowers. I expect to see leaves or aerial parts, flowering tops or tops. And you want to know the method of extraction. So often, if you're
Okay.
really out there, you're going to look, you want to see steam distilled or distilled. You don't want to see solvent extracted. That's used in perfumery. That should be
Okay.
noted. And you
Okay.
can, as an aromatherapist, it's fine to work with solvent extracts, but we don't want to put those on the body and stuff because it's extracted with hexane or other type of solvents to coax out these gorgeous molecules that just can't go through the distillation process. Again, I think that's a whole class we can give on that.
Yeah, clearly it is. And of course, you've got some courses, and we're going to discuss that towards the end of the podcast. So, thank you so much because that's great advice when we're shopping. And
Mm-hmm.
for the listeners, I'll make sure you all have something you can take with you. Because one thing when we're using aromatherapy, we're in charge, we're in command. So
Mm.
it's like free reign, which is good, maybe a little scary. So, for instance, we might buy something we might react to, something that may not be great for us. So, Amy, what's your advice as far as should we do some kind of patch testing? Is there a way we can do that before we make a big purchase and buy, a whole bunch? Because these aren't cheap.
No,
These are quite an investment, especially if they're high quality. So, do you have some advice on how we can approach that, like to make sure it's something we don't react to? Just as an individual.
of course. It's a really complex question you're asking. And honestly, like I don't do patch testing. I will ask when I do an intake with a client because I like to focus on olfactive aromatherapy. So through scent, or excuse me, through smell, inhalation.
Okay.
That's the safest way to work with essential oils is through smell. It's the cheapest, it's the most effective. I prefer you smell the oil like we already discussed. You maybe get samples and smell them to see, or you do a test where you drop the oil out, and if it looks red, you're like, that's wrong. You do those like really qualitative tests. The olfactive test is smelling, like we mentioned. But I do people do patch testing because if you're looking to incorporate essential oils into body creams and lotions and things like that, and you're a
Mm-hmm.
sensitive individual, you might consider doing the patch test. And it's not 100%, but what you could do, and this starts to get expensive if you have to dilute the essential oil and then do the patch test. So you're looking at taking, like, I wrote it down here because you have to think of dilution, a 2% dilution. So you're looking at like 12 drops of essential oil. Let's say you buy marjoram. You're like, oh, the way she's talking about marjoram, I want to get some. You'll buy the marjoram, you'll get an ounce of like sesame oil or olive oil or something like that, and you'll put like 12 drops. Yeah, 12 up to 15 drops into 1 ounce of oil. So 12 drops marjoram into an ounce of sunflower. You shake that up, and you're going to put like 1 or 2 drops from like a dropper bottle. You know those dropper bottles you buy for tinctures and stuff? You put like a couple drops on your inner arms the way, and then you put a bandage on that, and you wait 48 hours. And if you don't get a reaction, fine. But I found through my practice, I screen, I ask any allergies you have, what medications are you on. In most of my clients, I really try to work with smell, and my oils are always diluted if they're topical.
Always.
But I hope I answered the question. Like, I'm really a proponent because we're looking at especially the sustainability of essential oils, the concentrated nature of essential oils. Less is more. We go drop by drop. And when we harness the power they have to work with our neuroendocrine system through inhalation, we don't have to worry about safety as much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, I think we can all be open. I have seen advice about possibly ingesting and using various ways. And of course, as a physician, my default answer is going to be no.
Yeah.
But I know in my own personal practice, I enjoy just the smell. I enjoy just that experience of it. So, and they are so concentrated that it just takes very little. So, I thought, well, logically that would help it, last, and that's more sustainable instead of, yeah.
Yeah.
So, one question that comes up with my clients in the medical practice is in special situations. in areas that I'm definitely not an expert. That's going to be with children and with pets, but it comes up because people want to help their kids. I think, helping kids sleep, that's one question I'll get a lot.
Yeah.
Helping kids focus, that I've heard quite a bit. And then using essential oils in pets. And so I'm a cat mommy myself. I'm a senior cat mommy. We're rolling
Oh.
up on 20 years. My girl is tough.
Oh, good, good. Congrats
She's
to you
tough. She
both.
is tough. Yeah. So, but I've had folks ask about using with pets. So, what is your advice on that, Amy?
So similar to you, I do work with children, but not a lot. I like to focus on adults, and I'll just share about pets first. Um, Essential oils are terpene based. That's kind of the chemistry part, but no essential oils whatsoever around birds, reptiles, fish. They just they can't metabolize the molecules. Cats as well. They in their liver they don't have the enzymes to metabolize terpenes. And the backbone of all essential oils is the terpene, the isoprene unit. So if you if you want and you have cats in your life and you love the oils, keep it personal. The cat, you don't want to clean their litter box or anything. Keep it on you, in you. Let the cat run free. Don't diffuse in the room and have the door closed. It's okay to diffuse, but not with the cat in the room. Like that's kind of the way to think about it. If you love your oils, make aroma jewelry. Have a personal inhaler, right? Dogs, no. Some people work with dogs with oils, and I just say no. They're licking stuff all the time. They're licking. They love to lick. So do cats. They have to metabolize this stuff. They are so much smaller than we are. So generally, no. I have to say, we do. We're the caretakers of a Shiba Inu. We don't own her. She's the ruler of the house. She's 13. I work with the hydrosols with her. So that's when we distill the essential oils. We use water and we get the essential oil over from the still, and we get the forever changed water called the hydrosol. Many people know of rose water. That's an example. Really diluted, really beautiful medicine. I wouldn't use these with cats, but my dog, for calming, I will spray German chamomile or Roman chamomile like on her bedding. I'll spray my hands and rub her ears because I know she won't be licking her ears. So my long answer there, short, is just don't do it with the oils. It does take special training. Some people do work with the oils, especially with horses, different caliber, right? Big, noble animals. So no, there's other alternatives to turn to for the animals. And for children, I did write some notes down, and this is kind of standard stuff I want to share. Just babies, no. Infants, no. Right? They need to develop. They need mom. They need love. The best you could do, nutrition. Right? That's the best way to help ourselves is a really healthy diet. Children 3 and under, no. Just don't go there. If you know an herbalist or herbal practice, go to the herbs. Go to herbal preparations like calendula cream is nice for like inflammation. Calendula is a really nice thing for children. If you're working with the herbs, stick to the basics like calendula, chamomile, lavender. When you start to get around the age of 6 or so, you can start to introduce the oils, but very diluted at 1%, just a couple drops of essential oil. If they're sick and you want to diffuse in the sick room, maybe you diffuse on a timer. And there's guidelines for that. I have on my website a basically free class on diffusing essential oils with guidelines. Let me just read this. A lot of people want to use eucalyptus and rosemary with kids, tea tree, laurel. Don't put these near their noses when they're little, especially ones that, again, no babies, no 3 or 4-year-olds, but 6, 7, 8. You want a little bit. Again, you're blending at 1%. When you start to get to that 6, 7, 8 years old, start to think of sleep sprays. I'm a big proponent of spraying a toy or an aroma wand, or you would be a really diluted sleep spray to give the child power, to empower them to like spray the boogeyman away or whatever, the ghosts away in the room, or help me go to sleep by spraying my pillow. with a child with anxiety or need attention, you could like spray their space and they walk through that mist, where they have an aroma stick that they smell.
Mhm.
So you're empowering the child. I'm rambling on, but there's so much to share.
No, this is great. So I'm going to be honest with you. That was all bits of information that I did not know. So I'm so glad we're discussing this because as you're talking, I'm going to just make a general assumption, listeners. A lot of us probably did not know that. I think that there's been information floating around there that it's okay to use essential oils in our pets.
Mm,
And then in children, and I've heard of people using essential oils even in babies. So this is
yeah.
so nice to, yeah, actually, I
Yeah.
actually have.
No, I know. And
Yeah, yeah,
it's, people might think there's differences of opinion. There are practitioners that work with
yeah,
very young ones, but for the general person that's just, you want to help your family, I think that the really good way to always think back is you look at that bottle of oil and you realize that it takes like 300 pounds, give or take, of flowering lavender tops to get a pound of oil. You're taking incredibly concentrated information and giving it to a little one. When you, to plug myself on my website, I have a how to smell
yeah,
essential oils. All you need is 3 to 5 minutes with one drop of oil to see how you change in your mind and your body, your spirit. It's all you need. So it's really important to go back to how concentrated these are. And that's a reminder of a lot.
okay,
So
okay. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. And listeners, as we are going through this, Amy has so much information in your show notes. As always, I'll make sure that you'll be able to find her website, particularly her blog posts that cover this. Because as you're listening, this is probably going a little too quickly for you to write down, but I'll make sure you're reachable, Amy. No, no worries. So my next question, and this might be a tougher one, but Amy, with your knowledge, are there any essential oils that you deem just simply unsafe and we just maybe should avoid them? And are there any that you know of?
yeah, this is a really great question. And to the aromatherapist who's like out there geeking out about all the different oils, we might have dangerous ones in our toolkit. Like tarragon is kind of frowned upon to work with, mugwort, thuya, white sage, some of the sages. But for the person who's out there that wants a kit of like 10 for their household, there's really no danger. I want to share some highlights, but remember,
Mm,
smell first, olfaction's the way to go. Only when you really need to might you do the body oil and stuff like that, and you're thinking of dilution. I just wrote down here some of the common ones that are perfectly wonderful that you'll probably have:
yes.
lavender, chamomile, eucalyptus. Again, eucalyptus or rosemary is another. Watch out by those little ones, but for the adult, the teenager, it's fine. Marjoram, because she's on my mind. Patchouli, cedarwood, ginger, frankincense. Those are a lot of the greatest hits. And the citruses. The
Okay.
citruses are really lovely, like sweet orange. Mandarin is a really friendly one, even during pregnancy with younger kids. Sweet orange,
Good
too.
to know.
Let me see. A few red flags out there, and I wrote notes just because I didn't want to forget anything. Um, Let me see. Yeah, like there's ones that you wouldn't even have. They're so hard to find, like pennyroyal. Like the ones to watch out for are, okay, the ones that you can find on the market are the citruses. So citruses are happy, they're friendly, but be careful about topical application of lemon, sometimes grapefruit, lime, and bergamot or bergamot. Those,
Mm,
the citruses are special. They're not distilled, they're cold pressed. Because when you distill
okay.
a citrus, the magic goes away. And those citrus oils, the ones I mentioned, have phototoxic qualities. So if you go out in the sun and you have, with folks that have more melanin in their skin, it's a
Mm,
little different, but it's still, be
mm,
careful. You will get
mm,
sunburn. The oils attract. They have furanocoumarin components in there that attract the UV light, and they will give you a burn. Some people that are
okay.
really judicious use this for skin lightening. So, it depends on the
Okay.
individual. But be careful with
Yeah.
those. Be
Okay.
careful for topical application for those beautiful citruses. That's why you can't beat olfaction. Another one that is important, I thought I had it written down. There's some of the greatest hits out there that if you put it on your skin undiluted, it's going to be like, holy cow, ouch. Lemongrass, cinnamon, bark, and leaf. People love that, but they're really irritating and hot. Thyme is another one. Oregano is another one. Really anti-infectious, wonderful oils, but really potent and hot. And they might make your skin red, be really irritating. So really be
Yeah.
careful about that. Oh, here's my Yes, so the skin irritants I wrote here, hot, corrosive, and like chemical, like cinnamon, leaf and bark, oregano, and thyme. There's other ones that are out there that are skin sensitizers. So if you use it too much, especially undiluted, there could just be a time when your body's like, I can't use this anymore. Stop. Every time you introduce that oil to me, my body's going to break out. Massage therapists, this happens to them. Some that are notable for that are ylang ylang or ylang ylang. Lemongrass and geranium are some of the few, and more people will have those in their life. Ylang ylang is gorgeous. You know,
Yeah.
geranium, rose geranium, people fall in love with. So always dilute your oils. Those are a
Mhm.
couple that were really important for me to share.
Thank you so much. So, for the listeners, again, Amy has got a wealth of information. So, in your show notes, I'll link you straight to her website so that you can get some of this information. Speaking of your website and your offerings, you've got a course which is called Connecting Energies with Chakras with Essential Oils. Can you share with us what your course is about, some,
Mhm.
or and how the listeners could sign up?
Oh, of course. And I do want to give you a compliment when I've listened to your podcast that you talk about you're a Reiki practitioner, right?
Mhm,
You talk
mhm,
about chakras and how this is all interwoven. So
mhm,
essential oils are a holistic application. They touch
mhm,
mind, body, spirit, soul. They connect us with nature. And the way to really directly answer the question about this course, one is I was kind of sick of seeing out in the market. I used to be a teacher at the New York Institute of Aromatherapy and the New York Institute of Aromatic Studies when that entity existed. And I used to teach certification classes, level 1 and level 2. And I just see a lot of junk out there. I'd see chakra blends. Like I'd go to Sedona. I love going there. Like, oh, there's a blend for your chakras. I'm like, what's that all about? So
mhm,
I was curious. So I'm like, let me really look at this. Like, what does this mean? And that's why I started to do the class. And it turned out to be an 8-hour class, actually, that I grew over time. But I something I want folks to really, really appreciate is that essential oils, because it's a chemical sense. When we're smelling these oils and they're working with our brain, our olfactive system, our limbic system, working with the hypothalamus, we're inhaling them. They go into the bloodstream and can dock out throughout our body onto receptor sites. They're so small and so lipid. That's what the oils do. So I just wrote here to keep my mind clear. The body and mind are one, right? So we know that.
mhm,
And the neuroendocrine
mhm,
system is the connection. So when we work with
mhm,
chakras, we're working with, yes, the plexi on the really physical level, like your solar plexus and your adrenal glands and your hypothalamus. We're working on
mhm,
this deep level, and the essential oils are chemical messengers. And when we work with them, even through just smell, which is really powerful, you'll notice that with the chakras that as a hint for people, like resins really resonate with the third eye and the crown. Clear thinking, clear seeing, openness. It's not that cut and dry, but it is that cut and dry. Heart, the heart chakra, rose, jasmine, the flowers. That's the middle of the chakras. That's the middle of yourself. Your heart's your connector with the outside world and the internal world. And the oils, these certain plant parts resonate in this way. And that's the way the class is set up by honestly plant part. You want to be grounded in your root chakra, like you are lacking safety. You're lacking some fundamental belonging. You can turn to a root oil like vetiver to support you to feel grounded, to then maybe work on
mhm,
other parts of the chakras that you're like, well, I can't speak my truth and my throat chakra feels a little too clogged, or maybe it's a
mhm,
bit too open. And you can think,
mhm.
okay, maybe I need some grounding so then I can work with some of the leaf oils too for expression. like
Okay.
rosemary, let's say. So that's, I hope I'm making sense here.
Not only are you making sense, I'm experiencing something I have never while you are sharing all of your knowledge. Now I'm having an intense craving to smell every one of these. This is hilarious. Like as you're talking, I'm like, I want to smell ylang ylang now. I want to smell lemon really bad. Like it's like I'm having like a aroma craving. I've never had that before. It's like real intense. Too. I'm like, I want to smell her majoram. I want to smell.
But you know,
This is
thanks for sharing that, because one of the best ways to learn the oils is to sit there and smell them. That's how
yeah.
I learn, like multiple sessions. Sit there for 3 to 5 minutes, trying to keep your brain out of it. Try to be an open vessel and smell, and you take those molecules in and you try to notice, because the essential oils with the chakras, it's about embodiment. So the oils have a signature. Some have an affinity for the respiratory tract. Some of them might
Yeah.
clear your mind. Some of them might make you sleepy. So it's about really tuning in and being an empty vessel and saying, I'm here with the oil, I'm breathing, what's happening. And
Okay.
the plant is the teacher. You're just there to take in the information. And that's really exciting. Like, I'm
It's
here to
very
try to help
exciting.
people, but you have the power to do this. It's just taking the time, honestly.
I
So,
love this. So, Amy, you have a thriving practice. You've got an online presence. Can you share with the listeners how to work with you, how to connect with you, and where to find you?
yeah, thanks for the opportunity to share. So, I do want to share too that I think it's important that we all explore, but please do know I am an educator. I still am. I taught certification classes. I'm the current New York State representative for the Alliance of International Aromatherapists. My feet are still I'm in the community, and we try to think about sustainability, the just pausing here, just about how powerful these are and how we can love them and appreciate them and share safety guidelines, right? So please find me at NYC Aromatica. One thing I'm really pleased to share, I have lots of free videos, plant talk videos, I call them, plant talk articles. I'm just putting marjoram out next week. Get to know the plants. You'll see me in the garden with the plants. I think a lot of people, please go to the supermarket, go to a farmer's market, go to the spice aisle, and get the plant if you can. Like, get fresh rosemary, crush the leaves, smell them, cook with them. That's aromatherapy too. I'm not going on a tangent here, but I have classes to share with people, like how to make a cream and incorporate essential oils into a cream safely, how to make a spritzer safely, with ideas. But one thing I'm pleased to share is I give in-person consultations that I love. You must ideally be in person with a client for
Yes,
aromatherapy. But I
absolutely.
do distance consultations. I also do distance learning. If you want a one-on-one with me and you're like, Amy, I want to pay you for an hour of education, I do that remotely. I'm pleased to share
Yes.
that. If you want, it could be hybrid where I blend for you and it's also educational. So it could be really hybrid, it's really customized. And I'm pleased to offer that. I'm excited to do that. I just was with a woman to talk about her 8-year-old who has sensory issues with too much inputs and how to help her. So we just had a really good remote consultation the other day. I feel like mom felt really empowered. But anyway, I'm also, please check me out on Essential Aromatica, my podcast. So I want to make aromatherapy accessible. And I have my baby called Luna Aroma I worked on for a year and a half. It's a way to connect with nature and the lunar themes and pair that with an essential oil. So if you want to sit with me, tune into Luna Aroma to
Lunar
connect
aroma.
with ways to meditate and connect with the oils. But
So, as we're closing, listeners, I think that if the opportunity is available to you, I would strongly advise that you consider working with Amy because, for one, these are a significant investment. When you're getting into essential oils, they cost. They really do.
yeah.
And two, it's very individual. And it's a place where, yes, you could take command and make your own choices, but you've got an expert handy. You've just heard her talk for several minutes. So I'm going to just double plug you that I think that is something that if it's available to the listeners, really you can get this wealth of knowledge with Amy. You should definitely consider it. So listeners, in your show notes, you will see every way that there is to connect with Amy. If you are listening on your platform and you're like, oh, I didn't quite catch it, if you sign up for my newsletter, all of the details of everything she just went over are going to be in my newsletter, especially how you connect with her. I'm going to put special notes about her course in the newsletter. It'll be in the show notes as well. But make sure you catch those, because of all of our podcasts, honestly, Amy, this was information dense. I love it. It's beautiful, but it's information dense. And probably for the listeners, you might want to go back and listen a second time, because there was a lot of info there.
Yeah, Charlize, thank you so much. I love and really enjoy working and meeting medical professionals that when I met you, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's into chakras and Reiki. And so
I am so into chakras and Reiki. So into it.
Yeah, mind, body, mind, body, right?
So, mind, body. Well, Amy, thank you so much. We appreciate you being here. Well, I'll make sure that the folks know where to find you. Listeners, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, you can always leave a review for a small podcast like me. It's great to have your input. You can also email me at charlize@healingartshealthandwellness.com. Amy, thank you so much.
Charlize, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Art of Healing podcast. Once again, this is Charlize. You can find out more about me at www.healingartshealthandwellness.com. Did you know I have a blog as well as online courses? Check your show notes to sign up for more information about healing arts, health, and wellness. Thank you. Please feel free to share this episode with your friends, family, and loved ones.